Welcome back to the Running Wine Mom podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Cieslinski, aka the Running Wine Mom. I'm thrilled to bring you today's episode where we explore the world of entrepreneurship, motherhood, and finding balance with the incredible Julie Cole. Julie is no ordinary mom. She's a recovered lawyer, mom of six, and the co-founder of Mabel's Label, a household name for parents seeking durable and adorable personalized labels for their kids' belongings. But Julie's story is more than just business success. It's about resilience, passion, and the unwavering commitment to make life a little easier for parents everywhere. Throughout her journey, Julie has worn many hats, from media personality to best-selling author, award-winning entrepreneur, and an advocate for women's issues. She's appeared on platforms like NBC's The Today Show and CNN, sharing her insights on entrepreneurship, parenting, and the power of embracing life's challenges with humor and grace. In today's episode, we'll dive deep into Julie's remarkable story, exploring her transition from lawyer to business owner, her experience with 6 C-sections, and her incredible journey of building Mabel's Labels from a basement operation to a beloved brand loved by parents and kids alike. So welcome, Julie.
Oh, Samantha, thanks so much for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited.
I'm trying to think. We
connect.
met up at the Create Her event, right?
Yes.
So
At the
good.
end. And
Yeah.
that was really one of my first big networking events that I
Yeah.
went to, because I, am teaching and I've never really been to it. So the first few people I met, I felt so uncomfortable. And luckily I met you at the end and had the courage to, talk a little more and say, hey, come on my podcast.
I love it. I'm so
Yes,
glad we connected. And
yes,
I can't
you're
believe all the things you do. I mean, you make it sound like I'm a superhero, but you're like, you've got kids, you're doing this, you're doing the content creation, you're also a full-time teacher, and you
Mhm.
run, and fortunately find time to drink wine once in a while. So cheers.
Yes,
Yeah.
cheers.
Mhm.
So to start each episode, we have our wine, and win of the week segment. This is where we share a favorite bottle of wine, vent
Oh.
about something that has been bothering us, and celebrate our recent victories. So grab a glass, take a deep breath, and let's get started. So what is your wine, WINE, of the week?
Okay, so I am just actually sipping right now a little Cab Sav that I opened the other night when my sister was over. But I got to be honest with you, I'm a beer guy.
I love it.
I'm a
I
beer
love it.
guy. I've
What
always
kind
been a
of
beer
beer?
guy. Anything light. In fact, I'm so ridiculous. I would like to say that I'm like one of those craft beer and support local, but I really don't like anything with hops.
Mhm.
I pretty much am like, give me your lightest, crappiest beer. And that's what I like. Like
I love
something
it.
stupid, like Michelob Ultra. My kids call it
Yeah.
my mom beer.
Something you find in a college basement. I love it. That's
Totally. Kegger.
I down for that. So what is your WHINE of the week?
I'm so glad you asked that. I have a good one.
Okay.
I have a really good one. And I have to say, I'm not really a whiny guy because I'm always like, nobody likes a complainer, and I'm more proactive. Like if something's wrong, I just fix it. And plus, also, I think this parenting gig is a lot about the role modeling. And I figure if I'm a complainer, then my kids will be complainers, and I don't want that. But get a load of this, Samantha. So I did that thing where I was a good mom and was like, I'll do me time. I went and got a manicure.
Ooh, love it.
Okay, hang tight. No, like I wasn't punished for it.
Oh no.
Dude.
Oh, that hurts to look at.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's bad. I'm on penicillin. I had to go to the doctor. This is my sister took a pin to it last night and there was a pus eruption. It's brutal. I am in I'm in pain that I can't sleep pain. And that's all because I went for a manicure. I knew me time would bite me in the ass.
Damn that self-care.
Oh, right?
The guilt is every time you look at your thumb, you're like, I did it.
Yeah, so that's my legitimate wine. Look at that bad boy. It is
my gosh.
nasty.
I'm sorry. I hope that it gets better soon. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
thank you. But it actually makes for a great wine story, right?
Yeah,
WHINE.
yes.
It's
Yes, it
legit.
Hopefully the wine, WINE, that you're drinking now will make
I'm
it feel a
hoping
little
it'll
better.
dull the pain a little bit at least. Rub some wine on it.
Yes, that's what you're supposed to do, right? That with kids' teeth, all the alcohol. What is your win of the week?
What's my win of the week? Let's see. Well, other than obviously being here with you, trying to think what good stuff happened. Oh, you know what? I had a really, really great, I've started this new series of Instagram lives And I had a really great guest on an Instagram live yesterday. Her name's Zoe Potter. If anyone is not following her, you should. And she talks a lot about eating intuitively and self-love. She, had her babies, put on weight, and then finally was like, I'm getting off the diet grind. I'm just getting off it. And she's total inspo. She wears her bikini and she shows every day what she eats as an intuitive eater. And she shares that. And I feel like she's really created a space and given permission for moms to be like, you know what? Screw it. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm so good. So I really loved that live. I'm excited to actually on Thursday night, I'm doing a speaking engagement around play. And I'm going to talk a lot about why we shouldn't feel guilty about independent play. So I'm kind of looking forward to that as well. And then probably the other win I'm looking forward to next week is that I'm heading to Washington to speak at the Morph Mom conference. And I think that'll be a lot of fun. So, hey, I got lots going on. It's super fun. I got wins, I got wines, I got wine. I got all of that. Yeah.
That is great. It is. I'll have to follow her. I don't think I follow her, but I recently, my gym has this pool and I was just having this whole conversation that I swear, I'm like, where am I right now? Like every single woman was tiny abs, like beautiful bodies, like, and it looked like they were like 25 with these little kids running around. And I'm like, I don't look like that.
Right. And not many people do.
Yeah. And it like literally brought me back to being 15. And I was I worked, so hard at working through all of this. And, and it is so hard as moms to kind of you think when you get to be an adult and then you think when you've become a mom, things will be different. And it definitely made me realize that there's still underlying issues there. So
there's still stuff that we have to unlearn, right? Like we were raised and I talked about this with Zoe. Like for me, I've never had real food stuff, whatever. But my parents, they were wartime kids. And so when I was a little one, it would always be like, finish what's on your plate. I'm like, but I'm not hungry. Like, I don't want to. And they'd be like, but it's wasteful. I'm like, it's more wasteful. I even knew intuitive eating then. I'm like, it's more wasteful for me to eat it when I don't want it than it is to put it in the garbage, So we also are bringing in our generational food stuff too, right? And so that's where, I think, I was talking a little bit about the role modeling and I talked to Zoe a bit about this. It's like, we want to make sure that we're not doing this to our kids, right? Like I don't have
for sure.
scale in the house. I never complain about my body in front of my kids. I don't talk, I'm food neutral, not good foods, bad foods. When they were little, they're big kids now. So we can have quite frank conversations about things like that. But I think, as we're raising our humans, we have to be mindful of those things, right?
Yes, I totally agree. I'm very careful with my words, especially, and not to say especially around my daughter, and she's so little too, but I want her never to feel that way. I want her to feel like,
and especially around your daughter, I think is fair because we know that the increased rates of disordered eating amongst young girls and young women is higher. Though, it's actually extremely high also in the gay male population. So we can't be, and even boys. I know boys. So we have to be mindful. But I don't think you're wrong in saying you're particularly mindful about your daughter because statistically, that's the reality. Right.
So going speaking from food, it'll be a perfect transition right into fitness. I always like to start that off being the running wine mom. What is your favorite way to stay active?
So, it used to be in the old days, I didn't have a lot of time. And I say we always find time to do the things that are important to us, but I literally, was running a business and raising 6 humans. So I'm not lying in that time, it was tough to find time.
Right.
But I was able to integrate it into my parenting. So it would be like, going on family hikes and, I'd go for like a big walk and put them on their scooters and bikes. And we found ways, but now like my youngest just turned 50. And so I do have and it's, oh my gosh, Samantha, it's so easy. Like people always say bigger kids, bigger problems. No, it's way easier. It is.
Yeah.
Like, my kids are great. Like they're like, of course they all have, like my 15-year-old, he's a bit of he's a little neurospicy. So I have to deal with some stuff around that. And, they all have their things, but they're lovely kids. So now I'm going to say, because I hit like kind of the menopause situation, which dude is not cool. It is not cool. Very not cool. It's actually very hot. My kids call my superhero name is like hot and flashy.
Jesus,
They'll be
that's
like, "Come and
awesome.
hug me." I'm like, "Don't hug me right now.
Yeah.
I got a sweat mustache coming on." So it's been tough. So I did want to, because I know with menopause also we do lose muscle.
Mhm,
So I actually have a membership, and I'm going to say I go 4 to 5 times a week to F45, which is I'm
mhm,
not sure if you've heard of it, but it is, and 45 minutes I feel like is good. An hour might overwhelm me because it might be like, by the time I get there, by the time I
mhm.
shower, I don't have the capacity or the time for that. But 45 minutes feels like a manageable chunk for me. But I will tell you something I added in recently, and this kills me because I'm really not good at it. And I'm not very zen, but I'm going to hot yoga twice a week.
That's great. That's awesome.
But it's interesting because, I've got a mom and now she's in her 80s, and, she'll be like, "Girls, I need someone to come and clip my toenails." And I'm not going to any of this so that I have a hot body. I'm going to this so that in 30 years I can clip my own toenails.
Yeah, I
That's how the
know.
motivation shift happens, dude.
It's so funny because I feel as though, like, anybody that I talk to who is probably, like, 40 or over, that's how their mindset shift is
Yeah.
because
It's
they're like,
mobility.
it's no lo yeah, it's about longevity.
Yep.
That's what, with teaching high school health and phys ed,
Yeah.
I'm trying to teach them lifelong fitness and hoping that they leave because for me, when I was growing up, I was an athlete, a three sport athlete. And once I left and didn't play a sport in college, I was like, I don't know how to work out. I don't even
Right.
know what to do. And so that's one of my goals is to make sure, when you're 80, you could be playing tennis or
Yeah.
badminton,
And that's
with
why I
your
think it's
friends.
awesome, like, for people like you who are teaching your kids. And I remember sort of I think it was in my last year of high school and doing phys ed, and we did things that could be carried on. Like, we did a session on golf. We did a session on,
Yeah.
I mean, now you do like pickleball or what, and things that you can bring, racquetball or whatever, like things that you can bring into your adulthood. And also what's really important about that stuff is the social. And I have to say, I
Mhm,
learned through COVID, I did try to work out at home and alone, and I'm not great at it. I really do need to be at the gym with
mhm.
people
Same.
and to have
Yes.
that interaction. And so knowing yourself and having that like kind of self-realization, I think for me was because I was like, well, this is dumb. I'll just do it at home. Then
Mhm,
I'm not losing the time and travel, whatever. But it wasn't getting done.
mhm.
It just wasn't
Yeah.
getting done. So you have to know like what your motivators are. And here's the other thing, Samantha, and like this is super weird, but it's really important that I have to pay.
Right.
So
No,
so
yeah.
like F45 is not cheap. And as a result, I turn my ass up there 4 or 5 times a week because I'm gonna get my money's worth.
I could totally relate to that.
Yeah.
I totally do. Yeah, my gym is very expensive, and
Yeah.
people are always like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that." And I said, "But I go 5 days a week."
Yep.
And
It's
they
worth
have
it.
kids club and it's a
Oh, kids club.
yes, they have it's my
Yep.
mental sanity with
Yep.
my kids, and it's just if you go every like you're if you're going 5 days a week, like I don't think there's a
I think I'm
price that
paying like, yeah, like I think if I go 5 times a week, I'm paying about $10 a class.
that's so cheap. Yeah,
Cheap.
that's
Yeah.
for your health and
But it
future, of
also
course.
is good because it's
Yeah,
playing on my like little cheap
right.
mind that you gotta cheer it up because I don't want to be
Yeah,
paying $40 a class, do I now?
exactly. Yes.
So I think to your point, Samantha, like, if you're in this, trying to do some sort of exercise, you got to figure out what works for you. So me, I
Yeah.
learned I can't do it at home alone, and I gotta pay for it.
Yeah. I connect 100% with it all.
Yeah.
I
It's
love
getting the
that.
psyche, right? Like, yeah.
So the next part we talk about parenthood, and one of
Yeah.
the things when we met at the Creator event was that really stuck out in my mind was that you had 6 C-sections,
Right.
and that is just incredible. I had 2 C-sections. My
Oh,
daughter was breech, and then it was because they were close in age. I opted for the second
oh,
C-section. Tell us about that in regards to your family. Having
yeah.
it's quite remarkable. What happened in
Yeah,
your
look,
journey and
it's
experience?
not perfect, right? So I was pregnant with Mac, my eldest. I was I was pretty determined to try like to do things vaginally, and like so much so that my obstetrician, OBGYN, she actually got somebody else in the hospital, another doctor, to confirm, because she was like pitching me, and I'm like, dude, I'm not an idiot. Like, if this baby's in distress, let's get him out,
Right.
right? I
Hmm.
mean, I didn't know who it was, but so then, yes, I did. So I ended up in an emergency C-section with Mac. And then I actually got pregnant very soon after. So I think he was about 2 or 3 months old when I was pregnant again.
Wow.
And I actually miscarried that one. But then his sister Posey was born 15 months later. So they're 15 months apart, and I had a miscarriage in between.
My gosh.
So I wasn't really, I thought about going for the VBAC. And actually, it was my grandmother lost a baby. She had 9 babies. She lost a baby an hour after birth.
Ugh.
And she did grabbed my arm and said, Julie, we don't take chances with our babies. If that obstetrician says you have a C-section, and I wasn't a good candidate, because actually people who have had like a breech are a good candidate, because, but for me, I didn't dilate. He wouldn't they were like, 80% chance it's going to land the same way. So with those kinds of statistics, having so many, pregnancies so close, we did the C-section. And then I had another one 20 months later, had the C-section. And then of course, I mean, there's just no going back. But I did talk to Christine, my obstetrician, OBGYN, when I thought about going for the 6th. And I said, what do you reckon? Like, is this something? She's like, look, if you're going to push it out, would you have another? And I was like, yeah, I probably would. She's like, she was more concerned. She's like, how many candles on the birthday cake? And I was like, oh God, it was like 38 or 39 or something. Like, and she was like, she looked at her notes. She's like, it's fine. Well, just, what they do for the last few, they just deliver 2 weeks early, so that, the risk is that your uterus will rupture because it's been cut into so many times. So they don't really want you going to labor. But if I went into labor, I'm like 10 minutes from the hospital. It was easy. So it wasn't really a big stress, and they weren't coming out the other way. So there you go, 60 sections. And like, why 6? I always say, I just don't have the I'm done gene. Like, I have so many friends who like handed off their maternity clothes to me when they were like in their 39th week of their second pregnancy, and they just knew. And so I figured I would know. And every time I'm like, I could go again. Even with the last one, I was like, I could go again. But by that point, there were 6 and I was getting old. So it was, yeah. But yeah, I just don't have that, like, I'm done gene, as I call it.
Right. I definitely have the I'm done gene.
Yeah. Most people do. And I was told that I would know, and that I would know when I'm done. And I just never.
That's amazing.
So let that be a warning for anyone who's listening. You think, I'll just know when I'm done. Maybe not. Maybe you also are lacking the I'm done gene.
Yeah, I definitely have. Because I always think about that when I see people say I don't know if I'm done. I don't know. And I think about it. I'm like, I don't need any more. I'm content with 2.
I'm good. 2's good. And 2 is good. And you know what? I will say, Samantha, like, people say to me all the time, they're like, I can barely manage my 2. How did you do 6? 1 to 2 is the hard part.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Then it's just like,
you've done the hardest part. Like, it doesn't get twice as hard every time after that. Like, and like, literally I remember my 4th just sitting in this like little chair and being like overstimulated by all the fun and action around all the time. Like, I wasn't having to play or like read.
Right.
Like, it was, the others just kind of kept her entertained,
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. I mean, God bless you, seriously.
You know what? I gotta say, it's absolutely a hoot. And like, now that I actually enjoyed them when they were all little and whatever, but now like when they all come home from college and like everybody's home, and when everybody was home for Easter, I said to them, I'm like, guys, I kind of feel like a outdated CEO around here. Like, I wander around, I make you guys food, but they have like such a bond and their interactions. And in fact, one of them was like, yeah, Mom, it's kind of like we've got our own ecosystem, but we still like you being around.
Oh, I love that. That's
I did feel a bit like that CEO goes in to the office every day just to read the paper and to turn up, right? Yeah. So
that's
funny.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's a blast.
That.
It's a blast.
So what advice would you have for other mothers who are facing multiple C-sections? Like, because I know a lot of people are afraid of that.
Yeah, yeah. And like, hey, it's not perfect, but I mean, talk to your caregivers, see how everybody's feeling. If you want to go for multiple C-sections, just make sure like you have that open conversation and you have somebody like for me, I responded really well with caregivers who were like very chill. So
Hmm.
I remember with my six, I was actually having nightmares that I was bleeding out on the table. And I said,
Oh, wow.
and I said that to my doc. I'm like, hey, Christine, I just feel like I keep having this nightmare. She's like, oh, Julie, if you misbehave on the table, I've got a blood bank in the basement. I'm good. And I love like that approach works really well for me.
Right.
She wasn't like, why are you feeling so? She was just like, dude, no problem. And so for me, that we were a really good fit. So you want to make sure that you have somebody who's a good fit for you. And honestly, like if you want to do multiples, like you've really got to train your other humans because you will come home and split stitches. I was
Yeah.
having kids climb into their own crib and into their own stroller. You line up extra help. When people would say, what do you want for a gift or what do you need? I'd be like, give me your time, drop off dinner
Mhm.
to me, take the toddlers out for the afternoon to the park. I was absolutely shameless in saying, I'm like, I don't need any little jumpers or sleepers. This is what I need. And then they would give it to me and I'd say, you're not getting a thank you note, but I'm telling you right now, thank you.
Yeah. That's
So I was
amazing.
just unapologetic about it all. If somebody was like, what do you need? I told them what I needed. I'm like, set up a meal train for me if you want to
Yeah.
really up. So that's my advice is just be honest, say what you need, don't be afraid to get help and realize that, it's major abdominal surgery and when you come
Hmm.
home and you've got toddlers at home, like you got to be careful. So
Right.
you got to get yourself prepared and get some backup. Like if you have, like I have a nice mom, so I
Yeah.
was able, and mother-in-law. So I was able, I don't know how people do it without that kind of
No,
support.
I
So
agree.
like, honestly, so much respect for like motherless moms. I don't know how
Hmm.
they do it. I have the most respect for mamas who don't have their own mamas around or they're estranged or, whatever.
Right.
So that would be what I say. And also just like, I feel like I learned a bunch of lessons just from the actual procedure. Like the sooner you get up out of bed
Hmm.
after that C-section, honestly, the better. I remember one nurse being like, Julie, you got to get up. And I'm like, dude, don't do this to me. I'm going to die. And that was my best recovery. And I'd probably just been 6 or 8 hours out of the C-section, but that got things going. And remember, like you'll get gas pains in your shoulders. Like there are things people don't tell you. And like when you have to get the catheter, tell them you want to have the spinal before the catheter, not the catheter first. Like,
Yeah.
so I mean, I've learned so many little tricks along the way, but
Yeah.
I'm sure I've written about it. There's probably stuff on YouTube. So anybody who's going into multiple C-sections, Google me.
Right. Yes. And you're
Yeah.
so right. The movement thing was such a
Oh,
big,
game changer.
like with my daughter, I had her in November of 2020, so it was in the thick of COVID, and I was like,
Yeah.
even like we couldn't really, we could walk around the hospital, but it wasn't the same, and I waited literally like over 24 hours to move, and I was literally working out up until the day before I had her, and
Yeah.
when we got home, I couldn't even walk around the block. It
No,
was so bad,
so
and
bad.
then with Parker, my son,
And how old's that
I was
one?
like, so they were 18 months apart. So he's
Oh,
almost
yeah.
2
You
right
packed them
now.
in tight. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I literally, as soon as I got back to the room, I was like, okay, I need to like, as soon as
Good.
I'm not high anymore,
Yeah.
I need to
As soon
get
as
up
if I'm
and move.
feeling back in my
Yeah,
body, like
yeah.
my legs can
I'm
actually
getting up and
move.
moving. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had barely any downtime for that. Not that
Yeah.
I felt so much better.
So much
It
better.
was
And I
insane.
did because my fourth is Jessamy. And with her, I couldn't get up. I was very lightheaded. I was passing out. I mean, I was exhausted. It was my fourth. And so the catheter was actually in probably for 24 hours. And it was a rough recovery because I couldn't get
Yeah.
up and didn't get up.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
then it was the next time. I think it was with my next one who was 17 months later, Clancy. And that was when I called her Nurse Ratchet, made me get up and walk. But I'm like, she's the best Nurse Ratchet ever.
I love that. I love it. I love it. So, not only do you have 6 children, 60 sections, you are superwoman. You create Mabel's Labels, which is an amazing brand. It was born out of frustration with children's belongings kind of getting lost. Can you walk us through the early days of starting the business? And also, I wanted to know, which child were you on when you started the business, or
Well,
did you have
okay,
them
so
all? Or
that's a really good question. So let's go back to why it
yes.
started, and that will come out that. So there were two reasons Mabel's Labels started. One was there was a product missing from the market. Me, along with my co-founders, who are my sister and two friends from college, we had little kids. We're like, we keep losing stuff. We're using magic marker or permanent marker and masking tape, and it doesn't work. There's got to be something out there. And there really wasn't. Good entrepreneurial mamas, people always say, like, how do you come up with an idea? And I'm like, find something that pisses you off and fix it. So that's what we did. So that was the first reason why. And then the second reason why was that my eldest child, Mac, had just turned 3 and he was diagnosed with autism. And I knew at that point the legal, like, lifestyle, traditional workforce was not going to suit me any longer. So that's when I said to the girls, because we had been talking about this, I'm like, look, I need to be able to advocate for this kid. I need to set up a program. And honestly, it just turned 3 and he already had 2 younger siblings. So it
Mhm.
was already hectic, right? So I was like, what do you think? They're like, let's do it. And that, we just had our 21st birthday at Mabel's. And
Wow.
I will say, I'm going to have to do a little brag, as well as Mabel's doing, we've obviously had tremendous success, won Entrepreneur of the Year awards and, 50 full-time employees and yada, yada, yada. But Mac also, he's 24 now and he's graduating from college. He's starting grad school. He's
It's amazing.
backpacked around Australia on his own. He's a lifeguard. He's got a driver's license. He's amazing. And I often joke that on my deathbed, I'll say, he's my life's greatest achievement. The other 5 are okay too.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow, that's such a great backstory.
And I
Like,
think we do need to know our why, right? Like,
yeah,
Samantha,
yeah,
like, you started yours for a reason. Like,
right,
everybody, but you need to know because that's what's going to help keep you grounded and motivated and doing what you need to do.
right. So
Yeah.
besides your why, what sets Mabel's Labels apart from other label companies?
Well, I think being first to market was one. And obviously, there's a lot of competitors and copycat
Mm.
companies, which is legit. But I think what sets us apart is our quality of product is the best. It is
Yes, it
the
is.
best. Like, our secret sauces, our labels actually stay on.
Mhm,
So there's that. We've remained the most innovative. And I think anything to do with moms, it's about community. So,
mhm,
I've been blogging for 18 years. We've been visible. Moms don't want to buy from nameless, faceless brands. They want to, in the early days, I'd say they want to buy from somebody who also was trying to get through the day without smelling like baby vomit. So
right,
being visible, it builds loyalty and credibility, which is good for the bottom line.
right,
So I think, we've got a vibrant blogging community. We have, 200,000 some on Facebook fans, Instagram followers. We really believe strongly in creating a community. Although, we make Maple's Labels to keep things out of the lost and found. We're always thinking in whatever we do, whether it be a product launch or a piece of content, are we making mom's life easier? That's always what
right.
we ask ourselves.
Yeah, and that is something, being in the newer phase of motherhood, everybody, it's like with daycare and school, we lose this, we lose that. And, when I posted our box from Mabel's Labels, so many of my friends messaged, "Oh my God, I love them. I've been using them for so
Right
long.
on.
They're so great." So that was really. I felt
Yeah.
so cool being like, yes, I met one of the co-founders. She's
Yeah.
amazing, and
So fun.
yeah. So, what are some of your favorite products that you have, or your most popular products?
Okay, so we have everything, right? Like, we have labels that go through the dishwasher and microwave.
Mhm.
So for the bottles, the sippy cups, the wipes container, the school lunch boxes, the thermos, all that jazz. We have clothing labels that are peel and stick and go on the tags. We have iron-ons. We have clothing stamps. We've got our allergy alerts. We've got bag tags, shoe labels. So we've got kind of everything. But I'm going to say right now, what I'm super digging is we're getting ready for camp season, and we've got a camp combo that is gorgeous. So a lot of our combos, we try to take the thinking out of it for you. So, we have like the daycare combo. So if you have a kid going to daycare, we've curated the perfect amount of everything that you need for that. Or like the kindergarten combo or the camp combo, the day camp combo. We have a seniors combo, the college combo. So all these, like all the different things that you might need. And I do really love, and I love our designs. But one thing I really like too at the moment that we just launched is our sensory labels. They're textured. So they're like a square and it's got the child's name, and then they can just move their fingers around the like butterfly or the car or whatever that is. And, being a mom of like some neurospicy kids, and also, I mean, you probably know if you're a mom of kids with busy hands, we're just finding like teachers and special ed teachers and parents and kids are loving it because sometimes kids have to be doing something to be able to focus, and it's just something that they can do while also serving the function of, not losing their
getting
stuff.
lost.
Yeah. So I am loving our sensory textured labels at the moment.
That's so I've also never heard of a sensory label of anyone having
It's
that.
new.
So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
So sustainability is becoming increasingly important to consumers. How does Mabel's Labels approach sustainability in its product development and business practices?
Okay, so much so. Like you need to understand our production operations manager is such a green nerd. Like all of our packaging is recyclable. Like all of our, even within our office, like our composting recycling program is off the charts. And also the very basic like point of our product is that stuff doesn't end up in landfill. It's that stuff is going to come home, and also that children are going to show stewardship over their belongings. So whether it comes to like our packaging being recyclable and or our product, what it does, and our corporate culture, this is all huge for us.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's great.
Yeah.
And so do you have any upcoming product or projects or initiatives?
What's coming up? Well, right now, obviously, like camp is kind of launched and it's a bit of a long lead. So right now we're actually, even though it feels like a million years away, and don't kill me for saying this, but we are so back to school focused right now.
Oh God, don't say it. I'm not even done this year.
I know teachers hate us. Teachers hate us. And we're like, okay, let's talk about the back to school comment. They're like, I sent the kids home yesterday, Julie. Shut it.
I'm like,
but that's
don't.
how it works, like with media too, and long lead, and like working with our influencers, and because we do a lot of like collaborations, and they want to start working on their content. Right. So that's just the reality in this space, right?
Gosh.
And back to school is huge for us. I mean, back to school is our busiest season. Yeah. Camp is comes in second, but back to school is like it's a beast for us.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure. So how do you see it evolving in the future? What are your long-term goals for the company?
Well, we want to continue creating and responding to our customers. We're customer obsessed. We're not customer service people, we're customer experience. And like our customer experience folks have so much bandwidth to do whatever they need to do. They don't have to be like, hey, is it okay if I send them free labels? Or hey, is it okay? Like you do what you have to do. They have a lot of autonomy, which also makes for a really awesome and entrepreneurial workforce, right? A really cool culture. So we're just going to we've got a lot of new products in the hopper, and some of that has been a response to customer requests and ideas and trends and things that we're seeing in the market as far as even like colors and icons and that sort of thing. So yeah, we're going to keep just rolling out the stuff that folks love.
Yeah. And that's great, being so community centered as well, and really knowing your community and then knowing what they want and being able to curate a product exactly for your customers. Like
right?
that's amazing.
Like just listen to the people and give them what they want, right?
Right.
It just like, thank you, customers, for giving us great ideas and telling us what you want to see from us, right? Like, it just makes so much sense.
So what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs looking to start their business, especially in today's competitive market, based on your experience?
I think I would say manage your expectations. People romanticize entrepreneurship. They think it's going to be like TED Talks and book deals and podcast guesting. Honestly, it looks a lot like making labels in a basement till 2 a.m. when you're pregnant with your fourth and getting up at 6 a.m. and doing the whole day again with no money. So you need to manage your expectations. Your life is not putting the kids to bed, then pouring a glass of wine and throwing Netflix on. It's, so you're probably going to give up some salary. If you end up quitting a job, you're not going to be able to go on holiday. You're not going to be able to buy that fancy car. Like, your life is going to be impacted. And not only do you manage your own expectations, but if you have a spouse, they better know what that looks like too. And even your kids. So I would say probably my biggest piece of advice is know what you're getting into. Go into this with eyes wide open. You also have to have a little bit of an appetite for risk. If you're risk adverse, the life of an entrepreneur is not for you. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Make sure you ask a lot of questions. I always say no's are free. Pick people's brains. Remember that your network is your net worth. Get out there, meet people, ask questions, show up, and keep showing up.
That's amazing. I'm motivated now. Everything you're saying is resonating with me because being a teacher, I was talking about this, recently about you graduate and I'm on salary and I can do the best job that I could ever do, or I could do okay, and I would be getting the same amount of money. I can just tell people, oh, I'm a teacher, and they could care or they might not care. And I've been doing that for 15 plus years, and now kind of getting into this new field, learning how to really just be proud of myself and figuring out what I need to say to people has been very fun. It's been scary as well. And people just say the same thing to me. Well, where do you find time to do it? I said, well, I'm not doing it at 3 p.m. My kids are in bed and I'm not, like you just said, I'm not sitting. I might have the wine, but I'm not sitting.
Well, that's on. You got to stick. You got to stick with your brand. You got to be fiercely protective of your brand.
I mean, that's why I added the wine so I could have the fun. But it's so. I'm like, I'm just not sitting there once the kids go to bed. I'm doing different things, and that's hopefully, in 10 years I'll be.
And that's the thing. This stuff doesn't happen overnight, it's a long grind. I've been in line for 20 years, right? It's a grind, but it's also, man, the sport of it, it's a high. Those early days, I can remember being like, what have we done? Why? I can't sleep at night. But then there were so many moments of just this is just such a high, creating something and getting our first media hit, or, customers being you guys have saved me so many times. It just, right.
Oh, that's amazing. And it is so fulfilling with that. That's awesome. You have told us so much today. Is there any additional info or insights that you'd like to provide, maybe that we haven't covered or that I skipped?
No, I mean, obviously we could probably talk forever, Samantha.
Yeah, I know.
We could probably do that. But I will say, maybe just if people want to get in touch or follow along and see kind of my media or my blogs or follow me on socials, obviously go to mabelslabels.com. But also, if you go to mabelslabels.com/Julie Cole, you can find all my stuff.
Awesome. Yes. And I will link all of that.
Oh, show notes. Yay.
Yes. Yes. That was awesome. So that's going to bring us to the end of another episode of The Running Wine Mom. Again, a huge thank you, Julie, for sharing your incredible journey, wisdom, and insights with us today.
It was such a pleasure being here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Your story is such a testament to the power of determination, resilience, and unwavering spirit of motherhood, from navigating the challenges of entrepreneurship to embracing all the joys and struggles of raising 6 kids. Your authenticity and obviously your humor shine through in inspiring us all to live life like a mother with purpose, passion, and a healthy dose of laughter. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for coming on. And as always, if you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it. You can follow me on Instagram at @therunningwinemom_. And Julie, you did mention your website. Is there anywhere else that the listeners can find you?
Yeah, hop on over to Instagram as well and follow at Julie Cole Inc. and at Mabel's Labels.
That's awesome. And again, I will link all of that in the show notes. So thank you so much for joining me today. Remember, you are strong, you are capable, and you are all amazing. Until next time, keep running, keep sipping, and keep embracing the joy of motherhood. Cheers, and I will be back next Tuesday.